Hello, it's a nice day here at Mart's garage, and this is the D-side flatty that I kind of rejected because it had a few cracks in it and things. But what I did notice, it had a really nice crankshaft in it. So I've just pulled this motor out of the shed, got it down here on the drive, and I've just flipped it over and pulled the crank out of it. Now this crank, it's really nice. You can't feel anything there. Can't feel a thing. So this crank's in really good shape. So this crank is going in my engine for Pendine. I'm going to do a swap. Now I've just actually ordered some of these blanking plugs, the blanking plugs that go in there. Those plugs, I've just ordered some from Rock Auto. So I'm going to try and remove these plugs. Okay, so that's my very first little bit of progress on the crank. Actually liberating the crank that I want to use. Righto, I will bring you back when there's more to show. Hello, I've got the crank down on this workmate, and I've just pulled this plug out. That plug goes in there, and I've just pulled it out. I tried to tap it 9/16, but I couldn't get the tap to make any real headway. So I drilled and tapped it for a 1/4 UNC, and I put this bolt in, and I used this socket as a spacer, and I just wound the bolt in and it just pulled it out, no problem. So I'm just interested to see what's actually down the hole, well, other than some chips. So is there some sludge there? I think there is a little bit, isn't there? Can you see it on that one side? So let's try and scrape that out in a way that we can see it. Yeah, there is some there. It's just a bit stuck, so it doesn't want to scrape out easily. Yeah, a little bit. Not much though, is there really? Not worth getting really vastly excited about. Obviously the stuff that's in there tends to, oh yeah, sorry, look there. Managed to get some out on the spoon. Tends to centrifuge out to the outside. Yeah, there's a fair bit. There is a bit, isn't there? Because it fills up and then it blocks the holes off. Okay, so that's interesting then, isn't it? So there was a fair bit in there, so it's worth doing. Hello, right, so I've done that. I got that first one out, and I'm doing the second one now. And I used that long drill there, and I've wound this tap in, so hopefully that's got a thread in it now. Okay, now I just felt it pull tight, and then I felt it go easy again, and now it's pulling it out. I think this is how I did the French motor that I had in the Roadster, which is actually the one that I'm rebuilding now, but this isn't the crank, this is a different crank. Whoops. And I just welded these up. I just did it exactly the same, and I took these plugs, welded that up and knocked them back in again. But I found that you can buy these things now from Rock Auto, so there you go. That's a neat little job. So I've ordered some replacements. Okay, thought I'd show you that. And that's the amount of crud that came out of the first one. This is a 5/8 and that will go just in the first part there. What size this is, but this is closer to the size further down. So let's see what sort of crap this gets a hold of and pulls out. Oh, hang on, I'm not even filming. This is closer to the size down there. I don't know what size it is. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's quite good, isn't it, that I've been able to do this? Yeah, interesting, eh? Interesting. Yeah, good. So a simple washout now. I'll get that nice and clean. Yeah, a wash and some sort of a brush. And yeah, looking good. That's a neat little setup, isn't it? So drill and tap a quarter, coarse thread, suitable bolt, wind it in, no problem. Okay. Right, I won't bother showing you the others though, but you know, I've showed you the first couple there, and that's gone quite well, I think. Okay, all part of the progress. I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Cheers then. I'm at the back end of the crank now, and I've just pulled this lot out of the rearmost one. So that's quite bad, isn't it? Not quite so bad, but still plenty there. And this is a very nice crank with very little wear, hardly any wear, you can't even feel it. So it's in, you know, good condition. It just shows even then, you know, you get that build up. That's the amount of sludge I've removed out of the crank. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, that looks alright now, doesn't it? So I can just wash that, clean it, stick a drill down those holes there, make sure everything's clean, wash the crank, prepare the bearings and put it in. I'm not going to do anything to the crank, and I'm not going to get it balanced either. I'm just going to put it in. Okay, thanks very much for dropping in then. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hello. I've got my crank in the block, and I've got the one half of the rear main in place, and I've just put the rear main in with a 4 thou shim behind the front face, and I've got it like this so it naturally wants to fall down, and I'm going to pry it up so I can measure the free play. So there's 0. I think the camera can see that quite clearly. So I don't know if you can see my pry bar. I've got a pry bar down here on one of the crank webs. So I'm going to lift the crank. That's just about 2.5 thou, and that's 0. So I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go with that. 4 thou shim, cut into a semicircle and just wedged behind the flange of the bearing. I'll make sure that it still rotates freely with the bearing cap on, and I will only put the shim actually on the block half. there isn't much in the way of thrust pushing back this way, you see. Pushing backwards, all the thrust is on the front face there, with the clutch release and everything. So, and thinking about it, the helix on the gears at the front push the cam into the block, so that pulls the crank forward as well. So everything's pulling the crank forward. 2.5 thou, great. Okay, righto, let's take this off. These are the offcuts. So you get the idea, there's a semicircle being cut out of there. Okay, righto, I'll bring it back when there's more to show. I've got the crankshaft in the lathe. I've just used this paraffin and this brake cleaner to clean it. I'll give it a good clean up and a good wipe over. Then I got a bit of emery cloth, emery tape, cleaned all the bearings. I've just run a drill through all these holes here, and I've got to just clean those where there's a little bit of mess there. The drill went into those easily, but I just had to put it in the drill to put it into those. I don't know if these are drilled slightly smaller at the factory. I doubt it, but that's just the way it was. So I just need to clean that and make sure all my bearings are ready and that it's not covered in tons of fluff, and I can put that into the block. Okay, right, jolly good. Back in a bit. As you can see, the crankshaft is in. I've cleaned up all the bearings, given the caps just a bit of a wipe over. I haven't put the tab washers on, but I just wanted to put everything in place, tighten it down. I put new seals in the, the oil seals there, the rope seals. Everything's in. It's not torqued, but they are tight, and it spins nice and freely. So I'm not foreseeing any problems in the bearings. I've got the shim in 1/2 of the main bearing just to take a little bit of the end play out. As you may have heard me say, I prefer to keep things kind of together. So these bearings, they are clean now and they will remain clean because they are all clamped together. I've made a bit of an assumption, and that is that I can replace these sort of after the event. Those haven't arrived yet. Everything has been cleaned out quite thoroughly. So that's back in and spinning freely. You're going to say, what's the bearing clearance, Mart? I don't know, haven't measured it, but everything looks virtually new. I'm assuming this was a low mileage engine when it was taken out of commission. You can see on here that there's no wear. There isn't a central ridge on the unworn part. Okay, righto, back in a bit. I have fitted the crank. I've got all the nuts that I want to use, and I've torqued them all up to 85. I noticed one of the nuts doesn't appear to be an original type, so I've just had to go and nick a nut off the other French engine. And what I'll do, I'll see if anybody's got any original French nuts that they have spare. This nut is good quality, but I just don't know if it is as good quality as these nuts. So I thought the only nuts that I can rely on are these, without going and buying some ARP ones or something, which I'm not prepared to do. Okay, righto, thank you very much for joining me in the garage then. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hello, here's my French motor. The crank is in place, the valves are in place, the cam is in place. I'm starting to look at the rods and the pistons and the rings. Here are my rods. These are a set of matched 8BA rods, and there are the bearing shells, and these bearing shells are the ones from this this engine, sorry, not this engine, but they match this crank. I believe they are low mileage because there's very little wear on the crank. So I'm going to go with the shells that belong to this engine, purely because I believe they've done very few miles and they're matched and they are running. I want this engine to be able to run well right from the word go. Here are the piston rings, top and second, and I've had them all and put them in the bore and checked that the gap is adequate. I'm using the rule of 4 thou per inch of bore. So for a 3 3/8 bore, that measures just under 14 thou. So there are my 6 and 8 thou feelers matched together, and I've gone through every one of these rings and they all measure up okay. They aren't wide, but the 14 thou does go on all of them. I'll show you how I measured them, just for in case somebody's not familiar. So here is the top ring for this number 5. So what I've been doing is I'll put the gap downwards because it's kind of easier to put it in like that. Shove the ring in so it goes in, and then rock it down. And I get the piston just in the bore like that. See, and what I do, I've just been putting my fingers in the pin there and just sliding it down until that top ring, the oil ring groove, is roughly level with the relief on the so the ring is down the bore by a certain amount. So hopefully you can see the gap. It's near the bottom. And then get my feelers and just get them into the gap. And check that they go in. They do go in. 14 thou, that is. The calculated gap is about 13.5 thou, so 14 thou is good. So that's the 6 and the 8 together. I mean, it's not like there's like, you know, 20 thou. It's like, that is what it is, 14 thou. So that's good. I believe, you know, I'm not an expert, but they're all passing, you know, allowing a 14 thou feeler stack to pass. So that's what I've done on all of them, and I'm pretty sure that will be okay. The engine will get a bit of running in before I try pushing it too hard, so I hope that will be okay. So that's what I've been doing. First of all, I've did a big tidy up. I cleared that table, you know, got rid of the other table that was there, getting them rods out, cleaning them, well, finding them, getting the bearings, finding them, getting them all ready. What I'm hoping now is that the small end bushes here are a good fit on the pistons. If they're not, I'm in trouble. Okay, righto, I'll catch you later. Bye. Hello, I just used my heat gun to warm the pistons slightly, and that freed the pin up. The pins just about moved, but they kind of didn't want to move freely, so I just warmed them gently. Didn't have to get them hot at all, really. And I slipped the pin to the one side and then put the rods on. They all fitted nicely. I put a little bit of oil on the bush as I fitted them, so hopefully they'll have a little bit of lube. There doesn't appear to be a front and a back on these, but what I did, I held number 1 to 4 with the number towards me and put the size marking on the right, so they've all got it like that. And then on these numbers 5 to 8, I did it the same, but I put the size marking to the left. I don't know why, just so there's some element of consistency. I fitted the clips on the first one, but I thought, well, while I've got the thing running, I'll just do all the pins first, and then I'll go over to the other table and I'll put all the clips in. But what I did, because I've kind of fell foul of this before, I've counted them, and there are 16 clips. So when I've finished, there should be no clips. The relevance of that is, if I finish and there's one left, it means I've missed one somewhere, so I need to go back and check. So I will now fit the clips. Nothing groundbreaking, just easy methodical assembly. Okay, back in a bit. I'll show fitting the rings to one piston. This is the last piston. This is the O-ring, and there's a break in that one. This is like the spreader ring. Now, I've been putting this end bit up on all of them. I don't know if it matters. So that goes around. What I've been doing then is put it on facing me and then turn it round till it's around about here. You know, like think of the Mercedes badge, round about like that. And then you've got these metal pieces. So what I do, I just get the end. I mean, I'm saying this like an expert. Well, I'm not an expert, but I've just done 7. So, and then you wind it around like that and pop it in. Make sure you do the bottom one first. It's easier than trying to get the bottom one over the top one. Oh, then I rotate it round to about the same place and check that the other end is, you know, roughly around about there. So I've got the 2 ends there now, so I'm putting this one in over here and then just spiraling it round. This is spring steel, this is, so that one's on. Now, do you remember how I had all the rings laid out on the table? So I've just gone over and fetched this is the second ring. On the second ring there is a chamfer on the underside. Oops. And because of that, there is a dot on the top, right there. Okay, so what I do, place the ring on the top of the piston. I have got a piston ring spreader tool. So what I found kind of works best, because I struggled with the first couple, I was kind of spreading them and they wouldn't go down, and then this corner was getting caught. So what I found best is to put these 2 low. Well, first of all, have it up this way with the things on the top, and have it on the top of the piston. And then what I've been doing is putting my fingers round and kind of squeezing here. As I'm spreading it, I'm squeezing there, and then waiting for the back edge to slip down, which it's just done. Then I kind of get it down to the ring, the groove, and then let it go and guide it in, and that's okay. Rattling good fit is what you want. Now, from what I can tell, the top ring doesn't have a top and bottom. I just use the same technique. It's slightly easier because you're dropping it into the first groove. So get the 2 ends below the top of the piston first. Squeeze there. I'm squeezing here with my right hand. Get it over. Get it down. Wait till it goes down at the back. There it goes. Get it down. It's in, I think. And then just make sure it's in the groove all the way around. I'll deal with the spacing of the piston rings when I fit them, because even though people say you don't need to turn them, I always think, well, you know, why not? Okay, right, so that's 8 of them. Oops, that's 8 of them done. Then I just held the thing very, very gently in the vise because it's easier if this is you know, firm and not moving around. So there you go. The piston retaining clips are in, and I've put them so that the joins are to the bottom, like that. Well, more or less to the bottom. I'm going to give this a little clean because I can see some bits of, well, something are in there. It's because of my oily gloves. So I'm going to give everything a bit of a clean, just sort of flush it out with some brake cleaner, and then re-oil. Then I'll start looking at fitting them in. Okay, good. Righto, back in a bit. I spent a bit of time assembling up the rods and pistons, and I've put 4 of them in. The first 2 went in, then I really started struggling trying to put this one in, which was the 3rd one I was doing. And I tried and tried and tried, and I just couldn't get the rings to go down. So I increased the chamfer on there, and it did go in then. So I've increased the chamfers on all of these bores, and that one went in okay as well. I modified my piston ring compressor so that the clamping band is lower down. I cut off the edge of the compressor. That didn't actually cure the problem. Putting the bigger chamfer on the bore cured the problem. I checked my stash, and I did find a set of bearings. I got a set of 20 thou bearings, Michigan bearings. So I've been using those. So no complaints, it's all going together okay. I just sort of ran out of time today. So I thought I would just report that the job's going okay. Need to try and find a decent set of big end nuts. So I can do it up. I might use the Jaguar ones that were in the other engine. They're quite expensive to buy actually. I can get them off eBay, but they're really expensive. Or I might just use the standard French military ones off the rods that came out of this engine. So not much to report other than I've used the new bearings and it's going together okay, but I did have a problem, but the bigger chamfers appear to have overcome that problem. Okay, I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Cheers then, bye. A little package arrived this morning from Rock Auto, and in it was this little box of goodies. 555010 expansion plug. So I have replaced all of these plugs, and I was able to do it. Oops. Yeah. And I was able to do it with everything in situ, except I used this to drive them in because it got a bit of a domed end. It ain't really domed, but it's not sharp. So use that to punch them in, and it went okay, no problem. You have to be a little bit careful because you do get a couple of little shreds of metal and things coming out, so you have to be careful to clean up carefully after. But on this one here I couldn't get in straight with this, so I used this like that. Problem is, before it was home, it punched straight through the end. So I put a 5/16 tap through it, or an 8mm tap through it. Put an 8mm tap through it, and then actually, you know something, I put an 8mm tap through it. Yeah, without thinking, I thought I'd put a 5/16 tap in it, so I put a 5/16 bolt in it, but because it's just sheet metal and there's like only one thread, it went in, and I pulled it out. Because I'd tapped it, I had to clean it, and I wasn't sure if some metal may have gone down the drilling, so I took the bearing cap off and then turned the crank and exposed the drilling and blew the drilling out, and then made sure everything was nice and clean. While the cap was off, I fitted that plug using this like I had on the others, and it went in okay. Once they were all in, I just used this to kind of disturb the edge of the metal a little bit. I've got 4 rods and pistons in. I'll put the other 4 in. That's today's job, to put the other 4 rods and pistons in. Not sure if I will film any of that because it's just standard stuff, but I will bring it back when there's something to show. Cheers then, bye. Hello, welcome to Mart's garage. Here's my flathead motor as it stands. Yesterday I finished putting the other 4 pistons and rods in. I've buttoned them up, not fully, but with some temporary big end nuts just to hold everything in place. And I've bought some of a type that I used on Jaguar XK engines and the V12 engines, so I'm waiting for those to come in from eBay. Hello, I've come out to the garage because my new big end nuts arrived. I've put those ones on, I've put these ones on, and I've put those ones on. I'm just about to put these ones on. I thought I might as well fire the camera up and just, you know, get something down on film. I've got a runny nose today. I've just been sneezing my head off, so I don't think it's anything, but you know, just one of those things. Might be a bit of hay fever, I suppose. I've stopped, well, I haven't stopped using it, but I could use my impact gun here. But to be honest, I've been suffering from tinnitus lately, so I thought I'll try and cut down on using the things that make a lot of noise. These are the nuts. I did use some earplugs yesterday when I had to use the grinder. Torque wrench is set to 45. Okay. Right then. So that's the bottom end all buttoned up. I'll just double check it. You know, because it's, you can't, once you put the oil pan on, you can't touch them, can you? So you know, just sanity check. Okay, good. Righto, that's it for now. I will continue to assemble the motor up, and I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Cheers then, bye.